Hi folks, it's Mark Merrill with Firm. Recognize this picture? Yeah, it's from DC, where Janet Mills had this look on her face after Donald Trump told her that you won't be getting any federal funding if you don't cut it out with the transgender athletes being approved and supported by the Maine Principals Association in her state to compete against biological women. Sorry, you're not getting any. What does she say? We'll see you in court. Mr. Trump had no problem giving her an answer quickly. With such a small state, we're paraphrasing here, you'd be lucky if you last being governor much longer. This should be an easy case, basically. State of Maine, ladies and gentlemen, where we are right here, yours truly, Mark Merrill here on Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media, is pretty much on the side of the President of the United States, as we always have been. And what we mean by that is that we certainly uphold the laws of the country, not the biased, one sided ideology narratives of Janet Mills or anybody else, Republican or Democrat, or independent for that matter. So, what happens from here, folks? As we will show you from the email receipts that messages we've received over the past several days regarding this debacle, this horrible confrontation, which didn't need to take place. We'll go over some information here in regarding to trans athletes being honored by the Maine Principals Association, transgenders banned from the military, and military service versus transgender rights. And we'll also have a segment at the end of the ones that we read here from our emails. From the WVOM GHRT morning show of February 21st, an interview from a few guests and commentary on Governor Mills and Aaron Fry's banning President Trump's DOGE actions to stop states' federal funding on transgender surgeries and all. Also, there'll be an update in a few minutes in our program here, folks, basically titled Maine Dems Shove Their Own Lawfare Against Trump's DOGE governing. We'll bring you up to date on a story from Politico where the Trump administration launches a probe into Maine's transgender sports participation policy via Title IX. We'll read the details for you on that. And a second online message on transgender athletes and women's sports activities from the WIAA, a Washington State interscholastic organization, about their rules and regulations that follow federal laws and rules, including Title IX, which bans transgender athletes from participation in all women's sports and events or activities. So, the first thing that comes to mind here, folks, is that we've got this one in particular where Donald Trump berates Janet Mills for refusing the transgender order by Trump. Mr. Trump stating, "You better comply, otherwise you're not getting any federal funding." And here's how that breaks down. Of course, as we said, Ms. Mills said she would see Trump in court. When Trump confronted the governor in front of other governors right there at the governor's conference, on a regular yearly meeting, over her refusal. He was speaking to the meeting of governors at the White House on Friday, the 21st of February. And he singled out Ms. Mills for refusing to follow the order and berated her over it. She fired back, and the two got into a brief shouting match. And enjoy your life after, Governor, because I don't think you'll be elected in politics. He asked her. Mills said, yeah, I'm here. Directly, bluntly, typical. No respect. No respect at all. I understand Maine is here, the governor. That was her answer. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Gee, you know what, folks? When's the last time that you got a kickback or a shove back? I'm not talking about when you're little. That's different. When you're an adult, over the age of, let's say, 21. Okay, let's cross all the borders first before we make our point here at firm. Yeah, I'm here. I'm not going to let this go, Janet. And neither should anybody else out there who's an adult, an educated adult, and is not going to take this horse manure treatment of a duly elected president by over 77 million votes, all the swing states, and the Electoral College wiping the Democrats off the map. This so-called woman needs to be censured or apologize to a sitting president of the United States. No one should ever be treated this way. I'm going to make sure, Janet, that yours truly is going to have a word or two with you. As I live and breathe in the state of Maine with my adult children, and there's no way in hell you're getting away with this treatment or disrespect of the office of President of the United States. You low-life, so-called, once U.S. attorney, you're a disgrace. Mills went on to answer his next question. Are you not going to comply with that? Mr. Trump asked. I'm going to comply with state and federal law, she responded. Well, I am. We are the federal law, said Mr. Trump. You better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. Except, of course, for all the woke ones out there, folks. The MPA, Maine Principals Association. We get another bone to pick with those people. So Trump finished his statement to her. He made the same threat to cut federal funding from Maine on Thursday evening. So you better comply, Mr. Trump continued, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. I'll see you in court, Mills retorted. Good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after, Governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. That was gone social media, and it went viral quite quickly. Mills responded to the threat in a statement she posted prior to the interaction at the White House. What did she say? I don't know if it's really worth repeating, but I suppose we could look it up, couldn't we? Quote, let's see, when exactly did this take place on February 21st? She issued a statement on the 21st regarding the president's threat to withhold federal education funding. Quote, if the president attempts to unilaterally deprive Maine school children of the benefit of federal funding, that's not what he said. Transgender is what it's being withheld, Janet. She goes on. She says, my administration and the Attorney General, Aaron Fry, will take all appropriate and necessary legal action to restore that funding and the academic opportunity it provides. The state of Maine will not be intimidated by the president's threats. Ooh, ooh, whoa, yeah, I'm very scared now. The governor's going to threaten me. Is that right? Is that you what? Is that something that we should take literally, Janet? Is it something we should take literally? Here's another one, folks. Let's get right to it here on Firm Fairness in Reporting Media. Mark Merrill here for you. And with you, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, the Constitution. One more that comes up here, folks. Here's the one we were just speaking about here from the WIAA, Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association, Washington State. Backs up the Trump administration's new rules. Transgender athletes are barred from any women's sports or girls' sports activities as far as they're concerned. This is from newsbreak.com. First, we here at Firm say that clear enough for you, Janet? Or your own DOE chief, Macon? I'm sure you're familiar with her, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to skip ahead here a little bit because, see, Ms. Macon is the commissioner of Maine's Department of Education. Well, she's no better than Janet Mills. As a matter of fact, she's about as woke as they get, ladies and gentlemen. You realize our taxpayer dollars are paying for this person? Says under her bio here, folks, that she served on Maine's Juvenile Justice Advisory Group since 2014. She also co-founded Collaborative for Perpetual Innovation, a professorial development, technical assistance, and consulting company. Oh, brother, another consulting company for educators, school and district leaders, and counselors. She has served on a number of legislative work groups and committees seeking to improve educational opportunities for Maine's students and to promote, here we go, the work of Maine public schools. She also provides training for educators and mental health professionals and speaks at state and national conferences on topics such as restorative justice. No, guys, ladies and gentlemen, let's stop right there for a minute. There is no such thing as any word in front of the word justice. Justice is blind. Everybody should know that. We all together on that, folks? That's the Department of Justice speaking, the federal one. Not made up by some bureaucrat that Mills hired to be DOE director. But it finishes up here by saying not only that part, but this, which is very disturbing. These are her improvements to educational opportunities for Maine students and to promote the work of Maine public schools and provide training for educators and mental health professionals, and speaks at state and national conferences on topics such as restorative justice, cognitive neuroscience, dropout prevention, organizational culture, and climate. What's climate got to do with education? Anybody want to tell me that? Now, as we go on here, folks, we're going to bring you one that's talking about the WIAA. And it says here, coming up on our screen, it limits girls' sports to girls born girls. How about that one?
Trump's executive order banning transgender-free athletes from competing in Maine's girls' schools. WIAA executive director says the move
Gee, does that just about cover it there, folks, as well? That's from the WIAA in Washington State. How many other things, other instances do you think we need to bring up to make sure that everybody understands, including Janet Mills, that you're barking up the wrong tree? Or in this case, I should say, barking up the wrong laws that are unconstitutional for the rights of other school children, especially girls, under Title IX. You're breaking the law, Janet. You are breaking the freaking law. Another one here, folks. We just keep coming up with them all the time because that's what we do here at Firm. We research, review, and verify. First of all, it's about time Governor Mills, Attorney General Fry, and deflectocrat-led politicians find out the truth of the real laws of violations they're committing. This one comes to us from Politico. You'd think it'd be on Janet Mills' side, but... So, Janet Mills all of a sudden now facing a 2-for-1. What does that mean, folks? Well, it means basically, according to this Newsbreak article, let's see, published in, on February 20th, the Trump administration is now also launching a probe into Maine's transgender sports participation policy. The federal Department of Education launched a probe into Maine's transgender participation after the president threatened the state's federal funding at the governor's meeting. During the event, Trump touted his executive order that barred transgender students from competing in women's sports and the effect that it's had on the NCAA, and soon after, he threatened Maine's federal funding and singled out Governor Mills, a Democrat, and her state policy after she refused to say whether she would comply with his order. Just hours later, the Federal Department of Education and Civil Rights, the Education Department's Office for Civil Rights, launched a self-initiated investigation unto Maine's Department of Education for potentially violating Title IX, the federal education law that bars sex-based discrimination. The Office for Civil Rights cited allegations that it continues to allow male athletes to compete in girls' interscholastic athletics and that is denied female athletes female-only intimate facilities, therefore violating federal anti-discrimination law. Craig Traynor, acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, in a statement said, quote, "Let me be clear. If Maine wants to continue to receive federal funds from the Education Department, it has to follow Title IX. If it wants to forego federal funds and continue to trample the rights of its young female athletes, that too is its choice." Oh, isn't that nice, Janet? Wow. Hey, guess what, ding dong? You have options. Not good ones. Oh, this is where it comes in, too, for a good old Miss What's-Her-Name here, folks, Ms. Macon. Remember her? We just talked about her? Yeah, guess what? The letter was sent to Maine Education Commissioner, also Pender Macon, notifying her that the Office of Civil Rights is launching a probe into Maine School Administrative District 51, Greeley High School, where the transgender student athlete competed in girls' sports recently. And the investigation also follows a social media post from State Representative Laurel Libby, a Republican, about a transgender student who won a pole vaulting state championship. Same deal. Once again, this would be, however, in line with the other threats against Janet Mills. It's not looking good for you there, ding dong. The story says it would be the third in a series of investigations launched in the states that have laws or policies that are inclusive of gender identity. Earlier in February, the agency launched direct investigations into Minnesota's State High School League and the California Interscholastic Federation. Maine has a state law, the Human Rights Act, which bars discrimination based on gender identity, but the Education Department Friday argued that the state laws do not override federal discrimination laws. You got that, Janet? Do not! Mills says she and Attorney Fry have vowed to fight back over any efforts to pull their school's federal funds. Is that right? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Just keeps getting deeper and deeper with her, doesn't it? Boy, I just don't know there, folks. It's kind of harder and harder to get things to work. Now we have one here for you folks, as we've gone through pretty much everything that needs to be gotten through here on FIRM, Fairness in Reporting Media. We're talking about Maine Democrats shoving their own lawfare tactics against Trump's DOGE governing, especially when it comes to Title IX and transgender athletes. Gee, it's too damn bad, Janet. Why don't you get a life and start obeying the law for a change? You're an attorney. Oh, but I forgot, you weren't a very good one. That's why Paul LePage replaced you later on. He did. Ah. We would like to now, folks, present you with a segment from the WVOM radio network here in Maine, the GHRT program that aired on February 21st with a guest, actually a couple of callers who made their feelings or their views known, Maine citizens, by the way, about this issue. Here's how that went.
Caller, hello, the George Hill Rick Tyler Show. Let us ask you the question of the day. Will Maine taxpayers be forced to cover a shortfall if President Trump pulls federal education funding over our state's transgender athlete policy? What are you thinking?
Well, they probably will in the short run, but all these blue states that are doing everything wrong are going to have to suffer the consequences of their choices. And our option is elect people that will do it right, and then we won't have to worry about it.
1-800-966-1039. Well, listener writes to us, George. My school is private, and I already pay for it.
Yeah, we're talking about schools that receive federal funding. That would not cover private schools, I don't believe. Under the Maine Human Rights Act, they use the term gender.
Is it now gender?
The Maine Human Rights Act
Is that?
it means that individuals are protected from discrimination if they are treated unfairly due to their gender identity.
Okay, so that's a recent change. A moment ago, you used sex, and I did not know if you were
that's
reading
under
directly.
Title IX.
Okay, so Title IX's. I see the difference now. Thank you for pointing this out. Washington says sex. Maine says gender. Maine risks losing funding now. Caller, hello, the George Hill Rick Tyler Show. What are you thinking? Maine's going to have to pay more if Trump pulls federal education funding over Maine's transgender athlete policy?
Morning, gentlemen. Yeah, at first, I agree with the other caller. Of course, at first, the Democrats are going to raise taxes, and of course, they're going to blame Trump. They're going to blame him for everything and say that he's the reason why taxes are going up. But I think that the bureaucratic left is so out of touch that they actually are going to think they're going to get away with it. And I think the Maine people are sick of this crap, and they're not going to stand by. We're not going to stand here and let these people tell us that someone with a mental illness who believes that they are a female can compete with women as a man. It's not going to happen. We're going to vote them out. We're going to sue them, and we're going to remove them from this state.
Caller, hello. This is the George Elbrick Tyler Show, and you're on Augusta Waterville's news talk station, VOM. In a moment, we'll play Trump's comment again from the Republican Governors Association, talking of Maine specifically. But we ask you, you think Maine taxpayers will be forced to cover a shortfall if the Trump administration pulls federal education funding over Maine's transgender athlete policy? What are you thinking?
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, George. You know, first I just want to say God bless to Donald Trump. God bless Donald Trump. This is Janet Mills' problem. This is the Maine Democrats' fault. If the taxes go up, it's on their hands. They need to realize that Donald Trump won the popular vote. Donald Trump won the electoral vote. The Democrats are on the wrong side of history. You need to pay attention right now, Rick and George. This is so serious.
Sounds to it me, folks, that it is quite serious. We have to think about all of our children, school children, especially the girls and women. Hey, if it's affecting the high school, you imagine what it could do to the colleges in this state? We have one more item to get to here, folks. As we move on here, first of all, we want you to see that we have right here in front of us the transgender flag. Let's put that right up where you can see it, folks. Also want you to see that our flags, the ones that represent all of us normal, law-abiding citizens of this state, the American flag and the Maine flag on the top picture, and in the bottom picture is the LGBTQ transgender flag. You know where that's flying? Right now, as we speak. It has been there for months, possibly over a year by now, maybe longer. The transgender flag has been on the side of the State House, the governor's mansion, I should say. The governor's mansion, not the State House, thankfully, yet. And also on State Street, the main street, where people go to work every single day in Augusta, Hollowell, Gardner, Randolph, Hollowell. This gay transgender flag, folks, flies just below the United States flag and the Maine flag on the front of the Blaine Mansion, the governor's mansion on State Street on the very front entrance. There are no special rights, Janet. There have never been any special rights. Look it up in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Or have you forgotten, conveniently forgotten, and just have your feelings and your emotions to base your foolish whims that you're going to get this passed and defeat the federal government because you don't like who's in the White House. Join the club. You think the rest of us had a picnic with Biden in there? A senile old man who's being manipulated by God knows who. It's time this country got back to sanity by the republic for which it stands. One nation under God, too, by the way. Or maybe you don't even believe in God either, Janet. But this is one that needs to be in your face. No special rights, ever. You better get used to it. We're in a sorry state of affairs here, folks, in the state of Maine. It's about time something got done. Donald Trump's going to do it. So we will keep you abreast as to what's going on here in Maine on a regular basis as news breaks. We find out exactly what's going to happen If there's any lawsuits filed or if there's any turning around of the particular instances of cutting federal funding to the state of Maine. God help us all. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, as always, stay tuned to us here on Firm at rumble.com/fairnessmedia1, on Twitter, X, YouTube, and email us anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. Stay tuned with us, folks. Stay safe. Peace, hope, and prayers to everyone.